Testing, can anybody hear me? Just messing around with audio, and oh my god, I have to close a window. Okay, almost sorted. Hello, Murdo, Mohammed, CNDP38. Where can I find the tracking tutorial of the girl holding the horse? That's actually brand new. I could do something on that. Okay, I think I'm about ready. Sorry, I kind of like got everything going last minute. And I have some synthesize stuff on my screen that I need to dispose of before I actually show my screen. I hope I can be heard. Oh, we hear. Nice. Great. Jonas, have I ever tried PF Yeah, it's the second software that I learned like 13 whatever years ago. I loved it. I loved its node workflow. I love being able to pipe in two cameras from a stereo shot or a mocap shot using that node tree. It was awesome. Okay, I'm almost ready. Got my shot loaded up. I will swap over in a moment. Also, I don't have a dual PC set up anymore, so some things are slightly different. Still figuring out sound, figuring out my hotkeys. So, one more thing I have to do real quick is I just have to get this chat going on my iPad because I don't have two monitors at the moment. So I'm all ready, just need to get my chat going. Okay, back again, and I see Myrtle wants me to torture myself with a 5-hour test stream. That sounds detrimental to my health. And Dimitri, I am back to 3D R8 from Synthesize, but I missed you, Cal. Oh, 3D's got some cool stuff now. Oh, I hear audio from my iPad. I gotta shut that up. 3D's got some cool stuff. I like using it too. I swap back and forth depending on the project, and I'm not very good at it, but I can get around. And yeah, I love its planar constraints feature. That is awesome. Okay, so I think I'm good. I'm gonna swap this over now. And hopefully this works with my hotkeys because I am actually operating blind now. Let me open up OBS, make sure it looks good. Yeah, looks like it changed. Great. And I can see my chat down below, and hopefully I don't miss that. Okay, so as a test stream, hopefully this works. I'm operating on some Wi-Fi dongle. Yeah, so let's see how this goes. So I have a shot here. Very, very simple. When we get to it, it'll be very quick. But I'm going to use survey images to help and get some data to work with to get our solve going. So how do we work with survey images? I'm going to do it within the same Synthise file. Sometimes it's actually easier to have two separate instances of Synthise open, just because the larger your scene, the more that you have like a million overlapping points going on in 3D space. So sometimes it's just better to have two Synthises, but in this case it's just one cam, one survey shot, one cam and one survey cam, so it's not going to be messy, and we'll do it with some split layout to grab and constrain some points across. And I'll say this up front, I'm not going to use the as-is constraints because I find them unstable sometimes. Now for a shot like this it would actually be great, but as-is works best when you have two cameras that are kind of free moving. Matthew Merkovich has an awesome series on it, and it is great and works phenomenally there. But if you have one camera that has very little motion, it has a higher chance of polluting your other camera. So let's get started. And there's no messages. Great. Okay. So now let's get our survey camera in. First, actually, I was going to rename this camera right away, but let's do it once I have two cameras. So shot, we're going to go add, nope, we're going to go add survey shot right here. And navigate to wherever you have saved your images. Oh, first thing I should mention is this, actually, I have to mention it. There's no other way about it, but we have to save an IFL file. This IFL file is going to be a container for your survey images, because you can select your survey images from any location you want, and you can grab as many as you want. Basically, you're going to build a image sequence within Synthise. So I'm going to save this IFL just in the same location as my survey images actually exist, and you can call it whatever. Sometimes I'm just lazy and just go ASDF. Save. Now we're greeted with this little editor. I got a cough, so I'm going to mute. And hopefully that hotkey worked. Let's see, am I talking? Yes, I'm talking. Great. So now I'm going to go add. And here it brings me back to the same location that I just saved my IFL. And I'm going to highlight everything. Now this little UI, it has a move up and move down button, because you can arrange your images into a more preferable order. So if you're dealing with, let's say you have a car. Years ago I did a survey solve of a car that we didn't really know the exact make of, so we did some Google Lens stuff and found the car model as best we could, and then we tried to get all these angles of the most similar car we could get. A lot of these cars had mismatching pieces, and the camera angles were crazy. Now what Synthise wants is for your survey images, for your camera to have a nice natural flow to it. So don't just have your camera like moving here and then suddenly jump to the other side with completely different points and then jump back. It's not going to like that you broke the chain of the tracker's continuity. Now these images shot on my phone, I'll just open it all up now. I walked around in a nice circle. I shot them in order of how I want them, so I don't have to worry about rearranging anything. So now did that, oh here, oh oops. So I got these images loaded into the list. Like I said, you can move them up and down, but I'll hit OK. Come on. Alright. Now, for your survey camera, you could go and enter in your film back stuff if you happen to know what it is, but more often than not, you might be dealing with, actually, you know, I take that back. I was going to say more often than not, you're going to be dealing with cameras of all different film backs. Like maybe you have somebody who took some photos with their iPhone, and then then there was a witness camera with a GoPro, and then maybe you included an actual frame from your main sequence. Your film backs are not going to match, and sometimes it's not going to matter what you put here in your sensor. So I just don't do anything here at all for my survey camera, typically, ever. Also, the point of your survey images is that you have a good range of motion, that you're going to solve some 3D points that are in fairly accurate positions regardless of whatever your film back is. Your film back primarily is to make sure that all your cameras are using consistent focal lengths, but your survey camera is not going to be used in your main sequence. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so I'm gonna hit OK. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say there, but I don't know what it is. So now I've got 2 cameras in my scene, if I can actually grab them. So let's go name them real quick. I'm going to go to Window, Hierarchy View, and whoops. Let's name camera 1 to shot cam, and what's my file name? SEW001. And I could have put a little underscore. Great. And camera 2, let's call it survey cam. Nice to keep your cameras organized. Message. What is the survey image concept? What is the survey image concept? If I understand that correctly, the point of using survey images is I'm going to take these images here, and I'm actually going to do a really quick solve of this. We're not going to do too many points. I'm going to speed run this, but these camera angles are so extreme that we're going to get an awesome solve. And when we have these 3D points, when we head over to our main shot over here, once we've tracked this, we're going to be able to just quickly take like a point on this walking man here, constrain it to the extremely accurate point data from the survey camera. So basically we're building out our layout, except without actually modeling the layout. We're going to establish our world and our scale, and our points are going to be hyper accurate. And when you have other cameras in your environment or your set, you can constrain all of those to your survey solve, meaning you're going to get extremely accurate focal lengths, you're going to have a very accurate continuity in world space. Yeah, so that's the purpose. If that's what you meant by what the image concept is, what the survey image concept is, it's kicking off your layout, and all your other cameras are going to work off of those point positions. Dimitri, when taking reference photos for photogrammetry, parallax is necessary. This is even stated and illustrated in the Metashape manual. Yes, exactly. I'm not sure if you were responding to somebody else. It's a good statement. I just don't know where it's directed at. Did I say something? Did I say something contrary? I don't know. And Mario, you're live. Yes, I am. And I'm nervous as hell, because every time I take time off from doing this, I get extremely nervous and yeah, a little anxious. Muhammad, oh thanks. Akam, hi Calvin, what's going on here? So I'll explain as I jump right in. So we're doing survey images, and then we're going to solve this camera. So without further ado, before I get bogged too down with chat, let me get started on solving these images. Actually tracking them. So I'm going to do this really fast. This will be a slight boring portion, so if I can answer questions here. So first I'm just going to say that when you place a tracker and you go to the next frame, the motions are so extreme that it's not going to track. So hold Z on your keyboard and then left click and drag, and your tracker comes back. The same tracker. Don't hold C and keep creating new trackers on every frame. So I'll grab this tracker, next frame, and I'll just come, zoom over, hold Z, left click. Next frame, hold Z, left click, and so on. Hold Z, left click. So I'm not going to be, actually I'm typically not super meticulous about this portion. Maybe I should be, but I found it's not made the biggest difference. Like this looks pretty good. Damn, I got lucky. Sometimes you might have one off frame, but often the error is muted out because your motions are so extreme, and the more trackers you get, you know, the typical, it's going to all correct itself out eventually. So let's get this going. I'm going to try and do this extra fast. I was thinking about having trackers prepared, but I rehearsed this and it didn't take too long. 1, 2, let's get 4 on this walking man real quick, because then it at least guarantees a solve, and then everything else is just it's just kind of icing on the cake. Good for a very fast test stream. Actually, this isn't really going to be a very fast test stream, I think. It's just going to be a normal stream. Let's get the foot over here. Has anything happened in the chat? No, it has not. And just in case somebody shuffled in, I'll say this again. When you create a tracker, let's find something over here. I like this big black smudge. Hold C to create a tracker, and then on the next frame, you're going to hold, while that tracker is still selected, don't click off it like I just did, so click it back on, hold Z, and then left click and drag to bring your tracker back in. And this is so extreme that the rock thing is off screen, so I'm going to hit E on my keyboard to disable that tracker, or you have the little switch right here. Now I'm going to go right to wherever it comes back up and find it, hold Z, drop it down, great. Do you have a recommended minimum frames? A recommended minimum frames? You know what? I was actually going to do this with only like 4 or 5 frames. I ended up going a little double. Typically, more the better. It just means you're going to be tracking more, but it's a survey shot. So if you have 20, 30, 40 images, you're technically tracking less than a typical shot in production. But, you know, the angles are so extreme that you got to manual every other frame. But sometimes you have an erratic shot that's 200 frames long and every frame has to be manual anyway. So I would use more images if you can. Just make sure that there's a flow. Like, see here, the points on this running man, they are constantly visible on each frame. Doesn't mean they have to be on every frame. Like, my camera can pan away and show new trackers. Just make sure that if you're at an angle, like if you're tracking like this big rock wall, make sure that your trackers are visible, and make sure you don't just suddenly jump to something like this and then come back and start tracking this. That's going to break Synthesize's flow. So if you're going to shoot a lot of images, try your best to make sure that they have a nice flow to them. Yeah, but a minimum number of images, really you can get away with 2 or 3. If you maybe you want to take them in like whole 1/3 of a circle around your center, like this running man, you can have this, 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 and then you'd be able to track your ground. Except you're probably gonna not be able to track anything in the background here. There's so much detail, but if you have such extreme jumps, that stuff is so far that you've lost all that data. So I would shoot. So here you can see. This is probably why I shot more images than I was planning, because here I've got this. If I go over here, there's a bit of it left. Let's say the city right here. There's 1, 2. There's at least 2 frames where this city is visible, so I could at least get some points on those buildings and have them appear. Hopefully that helped. So let's get something else and get a solve going. Let's get this up here. This looks real easy. So easy that I'm shocked that I didn't track it in my rehearsal. Past me is a very, very non-bright person. how about the W? So just for fun, this should solve now actually. Let's see. So is there no comments? No, there's not. Good. Now, if I hit this with a solve, it might fail. Yeah, so it's a little broken. I don't know how well you can see this, but I'm going to come and expose down. The points are a little screwed up. Now, I've tracked kind of a flat surface. One has a little upper plane, but really, if I expose this footage all the way down and look at these points jumping around. Like, what's even going on? Can SynthEyes figure that out? I mean, probably. Actually, I know it can, but this is set to a zoom lens. Survey cameras are set to a zoom lens because you might have reference images from different cameras with different focals. So zoom will help you out. I'm going to turn this to fixed unknown. But yeah, you could see that the combination of zoom and these weird sparse like trackers, like it can't really make out what's going on in the scene. Like I can't make out what's going on with these frames. So let's go fixed unknown, solve, and oh look, it still failed. So if you look at your beginning and end frame, your green and red tick on the time slider, I see a question. Let me finish this thing real quick. So I'm going to set my beginning and end frame. So let's actually bring this exposure back up a little bit. So if I start on frame 1 and then bring this to the second frame where it's a little bit easier, I think, for SynthEyes to piece these up. Let's see. Shift G. Look at that. The points solved. And they continue looking pretty good. And I am very happy. So yeah, we have a solve now. So every other point that we add right now is just going to be icing on the cake. I am going to add a couple points that are going to help constrain with our other shot. So if you have survey images and you know that you're going to need certain features in your shot, you should pay attention to that. If I go to the other camera, what's here? Well, I see the running man. So in my survey, I'll make sure I have points on the running man. And I see the bars. So I'll make sure there's points on the bars over here. Maybe some of the rock features up here. Yeah, I can see this corner. That looks pretty nice. And same with whatever this big pointy rocky boy is. I put a point on that little dark smudge. And there it is. So make sure that you're looking at your sequence in your images and you're applying points to wherever you think that they're going to be usable. Applying points in your survey shot wherever they're going to be usable. And that's what I'm going to do right now, and then we'll move on to the solve. Let's see. Do you recommend always using ultra-wide lens for survey shots? Personally, yes. If you're doing a survey, you want as much data as you can. If you have like a 24mm lens, you're getting a narrow field of view, and you're going to have to photograph a lot more space. And you're gonna like orbit your scene, and you're gonna realize, damn, I lost that background already. It's very annoying if you're limiting what you can actually see and use. So to me, always use ultra wide. This is the ultra wide on my iPhone. I've been using it for a while now for this stuff, and it's just been working great. I wish that on-set supervisors, data wranglers, whoever, I don't remember who's doing what. Just go, man, walk around with your ultra wide on your phone. We don't need DSLR, which they typically don't have ultra wide lenses on their DSLRs. Just give us an ultra wide of your phone. That's it. It'll work fantastic. Sometimes it's even more helpful than certain LiDAR scans, depending on the quality. because some LiDAR scans can be broken depending on who's doing the processing and depending on the surfaces that are being worked on. But with images like this, look at all that detail you got. You got so much. And you also can do some photogrammetry on your own if you want, if you're that awesome. So, do you recommend always using... Oh, I answered that. Calvin, how's the job market out there? Still dry? Yeah, it's dry. It's dry up here in Vancouver. There's not a whole lot of postings. And sometimes when they pop up, it's 3DE, which I don't specialize in. I'm actually taking a bit of my own time doing stuff that I want to do. I have a little bit of work here and there, which has been nice. I was at Zoic for a little bit and still help out some with Track VFX. But yeah, some studios, a lot of other studios, it's here or there, here and there, not much. I've been a little lucky, but not that lucky. I've had a lot of downtime, which for me has been kind of nice because there's other things that I like doing on the side. Yeah, I wish things would come back though. No comments because we are enjoying. Thanks, Mohammed. What is benefit for survey images? Good question, Akam. That's one I answered earlier, probably before you jumped in, so I'll do that one quickly in a moment. Actually, you're going to see the benefit partially, and I'll explain it as it happens. I guess I don't even bother to auto track first, just manual from the start. Yeah, if you're doing survey images, don't bother with autos. There's just no point. Yeah, it's just two extreme motions. Okay, so let's add a couple of nice points just to get us going, and I'm going to very not carefully put a couple points on this bar. Because yeah, let's get ready to go onto the camera. And I will also answer Com's question about the use of survey images. I probably should have took another video of this just to show like the range of what you can, like how many cameras could be fitting seamlessly into one environment. Let's see. Oh, I like this. Let's get this. Oh yeah, that's a real good feature. Fantastic. Also, as I keep solving, I'm in automatic, which at this point is fine. There's not too many points. It's a short shot. It's very fast. But if your solve keeps breaking on you for some reason, even though you had a good result, switch to refine so that it'll build off what you've already had if you don't want to ruin your stuff. Let's get a couple distant points out here. Just to, I guess, for overall solve health. Let's get one thing over on this rock wall, if I can actually find this feature again. Oh no, I can't see. Wow, okay, where'd that go? So there's this big thing pointing to this thing, and right in the middle, this. Looks like it. Yes. Now, does that come back a third time? Ah, I gotta find it again. There it is. Oh wow, this one really hangs in there, huh? Is it this? Yes, it is. Great. I feel obligated to get this wall. Let's get this little dot, because I saw it appear right here. Great. Okay. And just to be safe, I'm going to do one more point over on this thing. Do you have any tips for aligning geo modeled from survey images? I should just do a stream on that. Yeah, I have a video on it actually. It's an old tutorial. I don't know what I think about it because the old videos I don't really like, because they're before I realized the power of all constraints. For context, I went years like somehow not realizing all the constraints and how well they worked, because every time I used them they kept breaking, and then somebody would tell me they're amazing, and then they would show me at my desk, but when they would show me they couldn't get the solve working just out of coincidence. It was probably just the tough shots I was doing and the time that we had. So I accidentally went years without knowing half of Synthesize's capabilities, which are packed away in this little drop down. But yeah, so I have a tutorial on using a scanned mesh that I did photogrammetry on, created some geometry, and I constrained my camera to it. I can't remember what it's called. Okay, so what am I doing? Am I done now? Oh, I was gonna put one more thing on this rock. So let's hit O on our keyboard, jump over here, and look at the features on this rock and just see if there's anything specific we want to grab. Also, was there another question? There is another question. I'll come back, Michael. And Walnut, I see both of you there. I'll come back to you in just a moment. I think I like this thing. How recognizable is it in the survey? Very. So let's go here. There. There. And you can lock on if you want to make sure that you nailed their positions, but sometimes I'm not that meticulous with a set of survey images. I don't know why. Okay. Oh, one more point. Okay, I'm done with all my points, but I'm going to do one more because I realize that I want to level this out, and I should have a ground point because I'm going to do a 3-point setup on the ground just to get a quick flat orientation. First, what's going on in the comments? Let's see. Michael, hey Calvin, sorry if this has been answered earlier, but what's your thoughts on using a 360 camera for doing the survey? No, I've actually not really done that before, but the nice thing about a 360 camera is that there's nothing to worry about for the focal length. So long as you've walked like even like 3 feet, you get so much data out of it. So I personally I think it's pretty great, except 360 video is stitched plates. And because you have stitched plates, that is not always perfect, especially because your two cameras, let's say on the side of a typical 360 camera nowadays is just 2 cameras. Those 2 cameras have different depth from each other, a different position in space. So they're stitching 2 halves of a world from 2 positions in space, so technically it's physically impossible to get the most amazing solve out of it, if I worded that well. So maybe that, I would say, probably not the best. That's something that all 360 setups will suffer from. Maybe you're flying a 360 camera in between 2 massive buildings to the point where your space of 2 inches doesn't matter between your cameras, but more often than not you're probably walking through a set in a studio where your floor is 6 feet away from the camera or something. I'd say maybe not the best. Now if you used 1/2 of that and then solved it as a fisheye, that'll give you so much data, and you can get a much more accurate solution out of just 1/2 with that 180-degree field of view. That would be awesome. Yeah, so sometimes for features on rocks and stuff, that's hard to find in survey images. I turn on handheld use others once I have enough points, and it actually tracks them for me, which is nice. Yes, I love that feature for tracking just messy, erratic footage. I've actually not thought about using it for something like this. Let's actually give that a try real quick. If I go put a point on this feature, now this feature is about to use the motion of every other tracker in the scene to help this search box predict where it's going to go, but I'm suspicious that these points are gonna sully the good name of this search box. So let's see what happens. Track, use others. So if it turns off, yeah, so it jumps a little bit, it jumps in the right direction, it has the right motion, but it goes a bit too far in my case. I wish you can limit that to a range. So like, oh, we only look at the trackers within this range and then jump over there. But typically the idea is when this search box moves, you can then hit E to enable, or actually, can I hit, wasn't there, oh, I hit 0 on my numpad and I just popped the tracker right to the center of the search box. So you're kind of in the ballpark, meaning you could just pop it on over there. Now that actually I don't want that point. Okay, so let me get this ground point. Let me see though what's here in the questions. Also, that was Walnut Brain's question. I hope I answered that. Actually, he was just saying how nice that was, and it is. Walnut's right. I love it. Akam, how about my question? No worries, I found it. Wait, is there any way we can donate or buy gifts here to support you? If people wanted to help me out, you can come over to this support Cal on Discord. I have a whole spiel here. You could ignore it if you want. Yeah, if you want, you can come over here and donate whatever you're comfortable with, or not at all, just because I like sharing stuff, and when I share knowledge, I hope that people in turn one day share knowledge with me. But yeah, it's also fun. It keeps me fresh on things that I wouldn't normally be asking myself. So I have a lot of fun doing this stuff. It started to help track VFX back when we were first kicking off as a studio. But it just turned out it's kind of fun. It's still like a hard thing for me to kind of do because I'm not the most like outgoing kind of person. So I feel awkward as hell doing this. But I don't know, it's fun. But, you know, I don't know why I went on that spiel. Yeah, if you want to donate, help me out. That is your option. And really appreciate if you do, but you don't have to. I'm going to do my ground point. Let me see the rest of these questions real quick. Hold on, I'm gonna read these questions real fast. Why is my phone going off? Oh damn, I see that, Akam. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That is a huge help. But yeah, no, it's especially considering the state of the industry and work, it's always nice to get a little helping hand. So really appreciate it, Akam. Akam's been around for a while. He's been awesome. Okay, a bunch of questions popped up. I'm going to read these real quick, and then I'm going to add one more point in this, and then we're going to solve and attach the camera to these survey points. Well, I never knew this feature exists. Gotta try it out. The use others? It's awesome. The search box has to be pretty big. Oh, that's fair. Yeah, Walnut's right. I should have made that really big. I want to try that one more time. I know this point's going to jump around, but let's do this. I think that's bigger than it needs to be, but aww. I re-enabled it and it jumped back to its spot. Also, this could have been smaller because it got some of the deforming features there. There we go. That works great. Yeah, Walnut's right. Why didn't I think of that? That's great. That is awesome. Credit to Walnut. Yeah, use others, just to reiterate, is going to look at your surrounding points in your scene. I think it's all points, which is why there was a little off motion because these polluted it. Typically your shot is not going to have this extreme motion where these points are going in different directions, so you don't have to worry about what just happened to me. Yeah, okay, Jay, hello. Please stop. Oh wow, that got political. Yeah, Jay, we're gonna try and keep some of that out of the chat. Just political stuff. I am not very well versed in stuff, and I don't want to pretend to be, but also I don't want to be like that kind of guy trying to push his own views or whether it's this or that. But yeah, so let's see, where am I? Handheld use others. Never knew either. Awesome. Jerome. Yeah, I love it for shaky shots, but I never thought of using it here like Walnut did. Okay, so I'm gonna add one more ground point. Actually, I might need two. Let's put right here on this little patch of whatever this is. Oh boy, that looks tough. If you also have a couple frames of your tracker, but you're starting to get to the point where you can't recognize the exact feature, you could hit W? There you go, W. Oh my god, W. W turned on 0 weight. So if we look, we have a 3D, whoops, Shift 5 to lock under the 3D solve point. You could see that it has gone and figured out roughly a position to go to. And you know, that's good enough for what I'm doing. I'm not going to improve that. Thanks, Akam. I see your message again. Handheld use others, never knew either. Awesome. Oh, I read that already. Yeah, but I did miss yours, Akam. Thank you so much. So we got 1 point, and I realize I'm going to need just one more, so let's go put it on this chunk of whatever this is. I hope that's not a leaf that's blowing around too. So be careful. Oh, it's a stick. Hell yeah. A little heavier. The wind ain't got enough game to disrupt this stick. Nice. All hail mighty stick. So solve. Okay, so I am ready to start actually putting this camera, orienting it, giving it a scale, and then we're going to put our snap our camera to it. So the idea of this survey camera, coming back to the point that Akam asked earlier, I said I was going to come back to this. So the benefit of survey images. Let's say you are a multi-million-dollar production and you have your actors standing in the middle of a digital environment, and every time your camera cuts between the actors because they're talking and the camera's cutting back and forth in between, and then they all look in one direction because there's a big monster, so the camera has to now come over here and look up at that big monster. You want a continuity. Like, you don't want to be tracking, you don't want like 6 match move artists in your studio like all tracking and doing their layout, but all their cameras are sitting in different positions in 3D space in Maya or Blender. You want a continuity because you don't want your backgrounds to keep changing. You want the same focals to match all of these back and forth dialogue shots, because when one actor's talking and it's cutting between the 2 actors, your camera is sitting in one position and they record the actors all of their lines in one go, and then they do a turnaround, they move the camera to the other actor, and then they record their lines. It's the same camera, exact same position. And yeah, so based on where you position your camera in space, the background might change or flicker or scale depending on your focal length or how you're doing stuff. A survey image is basically doing a more manual method of making survey, like LiDAR data. LiDAR gives you a scan in 3D mesh. It does billions, zillions of points, builds a mesh, and you will take and you'll constrain your trackers to that mesh, and your camera now has a good layout to this scan. That scan is kind of the end-all be-all position of your scene. So every camera is going to sit within that scan. We're basically doing that, but manually. So what the point of this is if you have alien spacecraft that's going to be flying or sitting up in these clouds, and it has to stay in the same spot, like over North Vancouver right here, or yeah, maybe there's towers on this mountain and they have to stay in the exact same spot. Setting up your master layout with survey images or a LiDAR scan means that every camera you're going to line up to the same setup, and those CG elements are going to stick in the same position for every single camera, and it's going to look awesome, and your supervisor is going to kiss you, and then they're going to get in trouble with HR. So let's see, we are ready to solve. Make sure that there's no more points. Or sorry, no more questions. Good, there's no more questions. Okay, good. So now time to actually orient this survey camera. But first, because I don't want to see multiple cameras and stuff going on over here, let's open up by hierarchy view and just hide our shot cam for now. We don't need to see it. Also, sometimes I have a habit of just disabling the solver mode for our actual main other cameras. Just leave whatever camera you're working with enabled and that's it. The other camera wasn't going to do anything because there's no trackers on it, so that's good. But just something to keep in mind. Sometimes you want to work on one item at a time. So, survey camera is set to automatic. Let's get started here. So I'm going to set maybe this little guy's elbow as my origin. By the way, I'm going to do something manual, but because I like doing things manual. But here's the automated way for everybody to do what I'm about to do. Here's the easy way, so you guys could just do this if you want. But come over to coordinates, and you see that there's a 3 button. Now this is going to cycle through 3 options. Now first, if I click it, you see it says OR, that means origin. So first you select whatever point is going to be the dead center of your scene. I'll click this. You can see it's highlighted and made a little blue thing. And if I hit F4, you can see it actually put a little seed point in the center of the world. So this whole scene is going to snap over there. Now it says it's looking for LR, so left and right. This actually means your x-axis. So you're going to find, actually, can't I click that? Oh, forward and back. Yeah, at this point you can toggle between forward and back. Ooh. Oops. There are existing constraints. Remove them? Yes. I actually didn't know I can cycle all the way through it. So, it wants my origin. I'm going to click this, snapped it there, and now I can select a point that's left or right. Meaning if I tracked a grid like a checker floor and there's a point to the right or left of my origin, I can select that, and that would be my x-axis. In this case, I'm going to grab this point up here, which I'm going to say is my z depth, my z line. So I'm going to switch this to forward and back. So forward and back, select blue, and now you can see that it's gone and put a constraint up along the z-axis, and now the third point is PL, basically plane. So it's looking for any point that's on the floor that matches these 2 points. The same floor that these 2 points are on. So I'm going to grab this one, apply coordinate system, and refine if necessary. Yeah, sure. So now that I've done that, it's gone and solved, and it's positioned my scene. So if I go F3 and lock to camera, ooh, that looks kind of ugly. Why does that look so ugly? Oh, what did I break things? Oh wait, I set that to 08 earlier. I didn't turn that off. It's not actually influencing the solve. So now solve. Haha. Perfect. Mario, I appreciate your help. Thank you so much, Mario. I just saw the PayPal notification. You and Akam, thank you two so much. Feels like man, it feels like when you donate or like send some super like or something to like a Twitch streamer and they're like have to address it. It feels kind of it just feels awkward, like different to me, awkward to me. But no, I really appreciate it. You don't know how much that's helping right now. I'm gonna cough for a second, so I'm gonna mute. Okay, I think I'm on mute. Again, I'm just hoping all my hotkeys are working. Murdo, lol. Okay, so did I bore everybody? No, there's 20 people. That's great. That makes me nervous. Alright, so now that I have this orientation, what we're gonna do is we're gonna scale something. We're gonna scale our scene. Oh, by the way, I said I was gonna do that stuff manually earlier. We kind of did it now. We have the 3-point setup that I was gonna set up myself. I'll just leave it at this and maybe do something another time. I actually, man, a year ago I had such a big constraints video planned and I was working on it, and I had graphics and everything, and I got to continue that. Remake a bunch of stuff where I did all this manual stuff inside here and broke down how the 3-point button worked, and yeah. So anyway, let's scale this. So I'm gonna take and put, let's say, oh man, that biker over there is good. He's got a very nice posture standing up. I should get a point over there, but I'm not gonna. So let's put a 6-foot man over here standing by this guy, right by this tracker. So I'm gonna go 3D Earthling, and let's drag him in there, and I'm gonna make him so he's about 170 centimeters tall. Now, SynthEyes, notice, does not tell you if it's doing centimeters, feet, meters, like what even is this? 170 what? And if you look over in your bottom corners of your viewers here, you see there's a little 10. Vindeep. Hello, Murdo. Can you show how to scale the scene using constraints? Actually, I can do that. Like, you want the distance constraint. I prefer using like a physical tracker to move myself. But yeah, I should show a distance constraint. Let me see. Let me do this real quick, and we'll see if I go back to using a distance constraint, because that'll mean I gotta do a different setup and stuff here. Okay. So I just want to point out, SynthEyes has these units, but what are they? 170 what? Basically, this is whatever you imagine it to be. You can tell, basically, if you imagine this is centimeters, and then when you're file exporting your scene, tell your exporter what unit you were imagining it to be. Because sometimes you don't want to work at the scale of like Earth kilometers. Like, that's absurd. Those numbers and values are getting so big. Or you don't want to work at the scale of like an amoeba, like parasite. Like, you don't want to work at such tiny scales because the math is going to break down and your camera's going to break in Maya. So work at a nice scene scale if you want. If you want, you can pretend that this 10 is not 10 centimeters, but every little square here is 10 kilometers. I hope that made sense, but yeah, if you zoom out, watch this little 10 as I zoom out. These squares are going to change. See, they blipped out, and now it says 100. So every square is now 100 units. See, 10 units, and as I zoom in more, every unit is 1 unit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, that I just wanted to point this out, that I am going to come over to this point here, that point that the 3-point setup put on the z-axis. If we come over to the coordinates panel, look how it put -20 there. Now the thing is that -20, these 2 points are the only like solid locked points in your scene. So if I take this 20 and move that constraint, when I solve, this scene is going to scale up where that point's got to fit there. Watch this. See that? The scene's scaled. And I'm just going to keep dragging that negative, like keep dragging it up, solve, and look at this dude is going to scale. Now, there's something going on here. I want this guy to be standing right by this guy. So when I'm scaling, he's going to keep moving over to him, because it's going to get quite annoying as I keep dragging this up that I don't see him standing next. So if I take this guy, select this tracker, we're going to use a new feature that SynthEyes had that I actually did a video for VFX on. If you haven't seen it, go see it. It's awesome. I like this feature. Because I'm always recalculating stuff in SynthEyes and my objects are always moving. I like modeling things because then I can see the perspective lines of my wireframe mesh. But I'm going to take this, and with the other points selected, open up your mesh toolbar, and you have parent mesh to tracker. I am going to shift click this. So now this guy is, if we look under our hierarchy view, see how he's actually parented under the tracker itself. That is awesome. So now basically, if I scale the scene more, let's drag this right up. See, he moves with that point. He stays with the guy on the bike. So I can just exaggerate the hell out of this. Now, why would I do this instead of a distance constraint? It's just what I chose, honestly. You also don't really have a good place to put a distance constraint by this guy to align with his height. You would have to do like this bike circle and then kind of guess maybe 120 centimeters is this circle maybe compared to him. You could do whatever way you want. Okay, so I got a guy, he's roughly the height there. Great. That's my height, that's my orientation. Now, by the way, something I never did at the start, iPhones typically they don't really have a lot of distortion, but I am going to go turn on my advanced lens controls. I said that wrong, but let's come over to radial fourth, turn on C2, solve, a little bit of distortion. Maybe C4 just to be safe. And actually, no, that's pretty bad because we don't have a lot of points around the corners of our shot. So this other parameter means nothing. So let's undo, turn that off, stick with what we know. Great. So we have this, and I'm going to do one last thing very easily, and then we'll attach the camera. Okay, so let's do the actual point of this. Actually, sorry, I just said I was going to do something. So you see how the horizon line isn't lined up? At this point, let's say I've tracked a lot of points on my camera and I trust everything is awesome and there's really no improvement to be had with the point positions. Let's pretend this is our final layout. This is our master layout. This is something we're going to give the rest of our team of artists. But first, I don't like that horizon line. So let's go 4 on the keyboard so you get a quad view with the perspective view, so not F4, regular 4. We're going to go 3D, whole, rotate, and I'm going to go to the origin and just rotate this up. And I don't know if that was visible for you guys, but my horizon, I've raised it from here up to here. I'm just going to lift it a little bit up above that shoreline. The horizon's back there somewhere, I just don't know where. Looks okay over here. I can't speak. Looks okay over here. I see something. Is there a difference between radial fourth and standard radial fourth? Yes. I'll show in a moment. Jerome, why not just scale and uncheck whole effects mesh? Why not? You could do that. So the reason I didn't do that, firstly, for this setup, totally fine. You could do that fine, but you see how my guy here, he scales up and down with whole. Now I could right click and turn off whole effects meshes. He still scales. And I can't lock him in my hierarchy view either because then he won't follow, I believe. Let's double check that. If I lock and then go whole, scale. Oh, look at that. Jerome. Hey, that's pretty cool. So I figured that lock would keep him locked to the world space because that's kind of the purpose of these locks, at least before, is that it means that you don't harm your... It typically means that you don't harm your LiDAR scans or whatever your layout is, because typically you're given meshes, and if you want to scale your scene but not your meshes, that's what you would do. That's awesome. It doesn't... I guess it's not technically locking this. Well, it moves, but then the scale's not relative to the scene. I don't know. Whatever it is, it makes sense. It's awesome. Jerome, I'm happy you asked that. So, yeah, I would say that's just the better way to do it now. That was way easier than what I did. Because look at this. Thanks to the parent constraint... Oh, I hope you don't hear my Windows beeping. I don't know why it does this when I drag things like this. But yeah, scale it up, sticks to that tracker, and we can gauge this. That's awesome. I wish I knew that before. Murdo, standard think to work with other yeah. So Walnut, Murdo answered this pretty good there. So if I come over to the parameters, radial fourth order and STD. So these three at the bottom, these are industry compatible. This just means standard anamorphic. This is what 3D Equalizer uses. There's a couple quirks about it, but generally it works awesome. So if you use these right here, what it allows you to do is you can then come over to export. Actually, I have it right here, but come to export, scroll down, TDE4 data file export, which means that you can export your synthesized anamorphic and your standard radial, because 3DE has a different radial model than synthesize does. So yeah, Russ, and I believe with the help of somebody that I worked with at VFX. I don't think VFX is around anymore, but I'm not sure actually. But I can't remember his name. Why am I forgetting his name? When I was at Fuse, I was working for the LA branch, and there was a guy in New York. Very good, very cool guy, very talented, and I believe he was communicating with Russ about making this script for compatibility to get your synthesize exportable over to 3D Equalizer, so that synthesize is compatible with industry pipelines, and it works so well. There's a couple things about it, like things that don't come over, but for the most part, a lot of stuff comes over, and it's amazing. That's what that is for. Standard, if you use these standard options, they're pretty good. It's what 3D uses, and it means that you're going to be compatible with your pipelines. I've done some testing on some pretty intense anamorphic shots back when I was at Fuse and some other places, and to me, I find that Russ's merge 6th order stuff or whatever up here, his own stuff, I find that it got me a better solution ever so slightly. And these were on very free move, very easy shot with all parameters unlocked, and synthesize with everything unlocked versus 3DE with everything unlocked. It just got me an ever so slightly better solution, and also fast. Walnut. Oh, interesting things. Yeah. Okay, so with that done, so we're done our stuff. We're done our survey camera. This has gone a lot longer than I thought it would. We're going on to an hour. So let's get our camera knocked out here. So before we do our camera, let's clean things up a little bit. I'm going to go floating hierarchy, collapse my survey, and I'm going to hide it. Actually, I'm going to hide my trackers as well. So let's switch over to, actually, survey cam. We're going to disable the solving. I don't want it anymore. By the way, I should say, this is a little tough to explain, but between shots, you could link trackers between multiple cameras using as is, and I'd recommend going to watch Matthew Merkovich's Survey Solve series, and you'll see exactly what I mean. He uses a couple free move shots. At the beginning of the stream, I explained that sometimes as-is can be a little unstable. Depending on if one of your cameras has no motion, it could pollute the other, and it seems to break. I've not been able to get static cameras. I've tried to use them to simulate reference cameras from 3DE. I can't do it. Maybe it's me, but it breaks when one camera has too little motion. So I just want to say real quick that you could set up a survey camera where you take all these trackers we did and link them as is to our main camera, but if our main camera's motion kind of sucks, it could pollute the survey camera, and if the survey camera has too little data, it could pollute the main shot camera. That's just from my experience, I guess. Maybe somebody will tell me I'm stupid one day, and I hope that happens because I really want to use as is more. I use it for free move shots because it works awesome. I just don't use it for shots that kind of struggle with data. So yeah, I am not going to use as is. So as a result, make sure your survey shot is just done. Make sure you've added all the points you want, like all the points that you see visible in your sequence of shots that you think you might need, and once you're done, just say, alright, this is it. I'm not going to touch it anymore. Then we'll switch over here and let's solve our main camera here. I'm going to make this real easy. Let's go and do an auto track, and you know what? I'm actually going to use this ML motion estimation that is new. I've used it a couple times. Yeah, it improved things for me. It was nice. And this shot has some water, has some funny things, so I'm going to turn that on and hit run. It will take a... Actually, does it run with just that, or do I have to run auto and does it run? I actually don't know. I can't remember. So I don't know. It's taking a while, so I assume that it's using more. Yeah, I can't remember. Okay, so here we have our points. Things look good. Let's just get rid of that thing in the sky. Come on, Russ W. Common Russ win? Is that win? I hope that's a win. Okay, so we have this shot. I'm just gonna hit solve. Oh, what? Did that just die? Oh, I did not enable my solver mode for my camera yet. So solver, automatic, go. Fantastic. So this looks pretty good. All of our points in the back did not solve. They're so far away that they don't really know what to do with themselves. So I'm going to tell them all that they are far. Solve again. Great, and we have that data back. And let's go and turn on some distortion. I'm going to go radial fourth just because I like it. Can calculate. And this shot has enough data that I can use some more parameters if I wanted. So we'll get C4 included. That really didn't do all that much. It did virtually nothing. Let's take that off. Alright, so now with the survey shot, we're gonna start getting points that we've had from our survey. So I tracked this guy's foot and realized I can't see my trackers. Hierarchy view, survey, show. So you see I got points on basically all the major corners of this guy. So let's get a couple on him. By the way, I'm swapping between my camera and objects using the O key on my keyboard. Toggles between things. So let's get this. Oh, that was a little bit shaky on the exit. A little jumpy on the dismount. Great. And let's see. I put a point up on this rock corner. And I put one on this bar. Let's shrink that tracker down because that rock might be polluting it. Walnut, it worked for me in the blips page. Ooh. I'm gonna keep that in mind. And over here, I tracked the bottom of this smudge thingy. And I also tracked this. Come on. Pick up the pace. Okay, great. Now, I have those points. I'll just hit solve. Okay, so here's where the magic happens. So now, I want to be able to view my survey camera, view it next to my shot camera, so that I can select one point here and then constrain it over there. How do we do that? Well, come up to Layout and scroll to the bottom or somewhere, Camera in Perspective. So we'll click that. And by the way, I just want to point out that if you hit F2 on your keyboard, F3, F4, you jump between your layouts. But what if you want to jump back to the one that you just used up here? Well, hit F9. Wait, was that it? Did I just lie? I thought I had this working. Oh, it's like a custom button. Sorry. So I think if I... Wait a minute. No. Okay, forget that. I could have sworn that I had something working. I might have did it by accident now. I thought I knew one of those keys swapped us to our most recent selection in the layout bar. My bad. Okay, so anyway, it doesn't change anything. We'll go camera and perspective. Now, over here, here's what we're going to do. We're going to swap, I think, to our survey camera. Great. And now as we scrub through this shot, wait, actually, yeah, okay, yeah. So now we scrub over here. We're going to right click, view, and we're going to freeze on this frame. So now when I scrub, the perspective camera actually stays on the angle that you want. Reason being is because when you have shots with different frame ranges, you're going to notice, and you'll probably just have to notice this yourself if it happens to you, but if you have shots of different lengths and you're trying to grab points from each and you're dragging around your timeline, your plates are going to be at different angles and you're going to struggle grabbing and you're going to keep going back and forth. I promise you'll know what I mean. Just remember that view, freeze on frame, and unfreeze exist. You will thank me. What's this? Is there a way to export camera distortion data from a solved shot to another shot which isn't solved? You know what? I actually haven't done it. That's like a very 3D thing, like where you can just export lenses, and I wish that Synthesize had like these modular exportable lenses. I would die. You could use ST maps. Yeah, you can use ST maps. It just doesn't, but an ST map doesn't give you like focal, film back, and everything that goes along with the camera. Yeah, if you're exporting a lens, it's nice to have the lens. Rain, what is a ST map and how to do so? Oh, yeah. Rain, there's a script for that. File, export, solver, distortion as script. Then you can just run the script in any other program. I didn't know that. Walnut, you taught me 2 things today. I appreciate it. I've not exported a lens from Synthesize. That's good to know. I actually wish I knew that for 10 years now. Okay, so I am now going to start constraining points. So here's what we do. We're going to grab a point like this on the foot, and we're going to come over here and we're going to click on the tracker that it corresponds to, but we're going to place. Now this looks a little messy because the solves are overlapping, so like what points are what? First I'm going to come over to my quad view and I'm going to use hole and move my shot cam, go hole, whoops, move my scene just off to the side because now it's just cleaner, it's cleaner when we don't see these points. So let's go back to camera and perspective, and my view changed. That's unfortunate. So in your views in Synthesize, you can actually right click and see you can swap between your cameras. In my perspective view, Actually, I think I gotta jump over to survey cam. Yes. So I jumped over here. This part always slightly gets me tripped up because I want the time slider from this camera, but see, now I don't have it. And I can click this, but I can't click this to frame my time bar because I gotta be under my main shot. And now I have my whole sequence, but my frozen frame over here changed camera. So now I'm gonna right click, survey camera. And now you can see that I can't see my image sequence. Why is that? That's because now that I'm under my shot cam, the survey cam has adopted the world size of my shot cam. So let's drag this up, and now I can see my scene again. Okay. What is this? Yeah, but the other shot has to be exact same camera lens, focal length, maybe shutter speed, nearly everything. Yeah, make sure to cut. Yeah. Yeah, Walnut's got that covered in the chat. Okay, so now that I've scaled this up, here's what we're gonna do. Here's the actual... Wow, it took a while to get to this. I kind of dragged this on a little bit. Okay, so now, if I take the little point, the tracker on this guy's foot, and zoom in over to the foot here, turn on place at the bottom. Because now, when I click any tracker, you can see that we can place the constraint and snap it to the existing points of the survey camera. So I'll grab the arm, go click over to that arm, and then I'm gonna go grab the rock up here, wherever that is. I actually got to scrub forward. See how I had to scrub to find this tracker? Now if I didn't freeze this frame, this shot would move and I wouldn't see this angle. So take this, place is still on, click, grab this, place, and I'll place the others momentarily, but I just want to show what's going on here now. So now that I've placed some of those points, you can see that their seed points exist. So let's go and hit solve. Look at that. You can see that our scene has now scaled up and solved to those points. Notice how I didn't turn constraint on yet. I just want to show something. So if I zoom in, whoops, click navigate. So if I zoom, oh boy. Let's go view my shot cam. And my frame is frozen. View, unfreeze. I'll admit this process could be a little bit easier. I just greatly prefer this over the as-is constraint. And this actually is a case where at the beginning I said it's sometimes nice just to have two synthesize files open. One synthesize can just be your survey, the other can be all your other cameras. And then you can simply copy and paste a couple of your seed positions. And to me, it's just so clean and so fast and easy. I'd say this is actually fast, but I'm a little bumbling around because I've got a lot of crap going on in my head and also trying to look at chat. Yeah, so I see another message, I think. So let me quickly point this out. So I constrained those points, but notice how it's not perfect. If I look over here, oops, what did I do? How did I jump over to my survey camera? Shot cam. Shot cam. Oh, I selected the wrong tracker and it jumped me over to my survey. I was going to point out that my points aren't exact yet. My scene approximated the position. But if I wanted to hard lock to those constraints I just matched, turn constraint on. And now it's perfect. Like look right here, it's snapped perfectly. So if I come over here, let's take a look. So now that we see these points all overlapping, look over here, this point that I tracked on that rocky smudge, and you can see the purple point, that's the point that matches from the survey. You can see the difference. So if I come over here, I am going to hit place, click on that, solve. And you can see that my horizon is better matching because I'm giving more data. It's matching more of what the survey camera was. And I can do the same over here. See that they actually had a fair bit of difference. Maybe I just did that poorly, but do this. Brought my horizon down a little bit more. Yeah, so you can spend more time doing this and add more points. You can see that our guy here is over in the same position. Like, this is all the same world space as each other now. So yeah, if you model geo for one, it'll match for the other. And our horizon looks pretty good down the line. Yeah, okay, so that's basically it. The shot's done. Just for funsies, the last thing I'm going to do is what? What am I going to do? Where's my camera? I can't see it. Why can I not see the camera? Did I hide the shot camera earlier? I probably did. Yes, I did. Let's show them both. So here we see our cameras. I'm going to zoom over to filtering control. Just hit this with a default 5 frequency smooth, probably a bit too much, but whatever. Hit apply, reset. Switch our camera to refine mode. Turn on the position locks on the first frame. Hit get, so we load in that smooth path. And I'll resolve. And there we go, we smoothed our path, corrected our points. And we are really done. So this is an iPhone. I'm certain if I locked onto my points now, you'll probably see some ugly sliding and stuff. That's an auto track, that looks ugly. So Shift 5 to lock onto the 3D point. Let's Control J to turn off the trackers. Aside from my display popping these 3D points around just like per pixel, it actually looks better than my rehearsal. Yeah, that surprises me. But also for your trackers, you could come over to display and turn on radar just to make sure that you're checking your rings. The larger the ring, the more the error. And this point, what's it doing? Yeah, it has a little pop there, but it's not enough to really affect our scene all that much. This point looks like it's on water. Let's hit Shift C to open tracker cleanup, and I'm just gonna hit the defaults. Fix. Got rid of a bunch of trackers. Solve, and we've got our error from 0.4 to 0.3. And yeah, so that is... Also, by the way, since I got rid of those trackers, I really should turn off these locks, resolve the path, resmooth it, and then recalculate, but I'm not gonna. Because I am sick of this shot now. Okay, so let me just hide the survey, just for the sake of visual. Leave that there, and I'm gonna look at the last comments and then jump out of here. I'd love a stream on a shot like the one Rain is describing. Rain? Are you describing a shot? Have you tracked shots with 80% character and 20% distant obscured with atmosphere, fog, depth of field, and motion blur? I have. You should see something on my demo reel. There's a shot for Stranger Things where maybe not as much people, but the whole screen is smoke, and there was flashlights in the smoke, and there was no ground, nothing. I'll see if I can figure out a way to get a shot like what you just described. That's a good one. In fact, I'm going to screenshot that. Good. Save. I usually split the view. Nice. Jerome, please keep this live stream available for later. I am confused and I'll be rewatching this. Yes, it'll be saved. Sorry if it's confusing. Rain, it's the same shot that I split into two because first half I was able to track and get an error. Other half is just motion blur. 80% character who are in motion and no features to track. Oh, that's a response. Oh, okay. I'm gonna skip over some of this conversation that's happening. Murdo, you have your calc distortion is on when you solving every time. Is that a question, or you just let me know that I've got that? In case that's just, I don't know if you're asking or telling me, but I'll leave the calculate on for virtually everything. If I have a very complex scene where there's so much going on that the distortion runs wild and destroys my point positions, then I'll consider an educated guess or a preliminary solve distortion, and I will turn off calc and just go from there. Akam says, I don't get that. Do you think you can show us an example? I don't know. Oh, that's part of the conversation. Alex, Compositing Academy. Hey, I know you. Have you ever experimented with seeding tracks from AR camera tracks? From augmented reality camera tracks, such as an iPhone? You know, that came up relatively recently, actually. I don't remember why or how. Oh, I was experimenting. Long story short, I have a tutorial that I want to make. I'm not sure if it's going to be my channel or Boris, but I want to show some nifty things that I've been learning with distance solving. Basically, I've been exporting camera paths in and out of Synthesize and bringing them back in. Now, that's path seeding, and I would suppose that that would be how you would get your AR data. You would export FBX from whatever software, I guess however you want to do it. Bring it into Synthesize as a path for the camera, and then let that path remain and solve your scene. I've not considered doing that with any AR cameras. I've not tried it. I'd like to. I'm curious if there's an app on my phone that will give me that path, because I'd be very curious to take footage from the iPhone, take the motion for the AR, and then do a more sub-pixel accurate rotation solve in Synthesize. I'd like to try that. I've not thought about it. That's a good one. Yeah, I gotta play around with that. And Rain and everybody's just talking about that stuff. Okay, well, I'm done. Unless there's like a lingering question, I am finished for now. And yeah, if people want, feel free to recommend shots and stuff. I've taken some mental note and a screenshot of some things. So I will start trying to stream at least once a week, but I might do more because I also want to do shots that I can build my own demo reel off of, because there's so much crazy stuff that I do and I never get to show any of it, and I can't use it to get a job. I can only tell people like, yeah, but bro, trust me. Trust me, bro, I did this. That thing there, I warped that thing there. I need demo reel, so I have to do my own stuff. Yeah, anyway, so I'm done. Thank you, Walnut. Thank you for the stream. Alex, would be super interested if you ever mess with that. I'll mess with it, assuming that I described what you mentioned there, Alex. Assuming that I described accurately what you are referring to, I'll give that a test. I've kind of done it, but I'd love to see it on a camera. So, yeah, there's an app called Omniscient on iPhone that's really good. Omniscient, taking a note of that. Add a note for Omniscient on iPhone. Great. Jerome, you the man. Thanks for the stream. Thank you, Jerome. I appreciate it. Source, trust me, bro. Yeah, long. Murdo, thank you for the stream, Calvin. I appreciate people dropping by. I saw that there was around 20 people. I'm surprised that I looked at that number half the time, because usually that makes me very nervous, and actually it did. So probably not going to look at that number, but I appreciate there being roughly 20 people viewing most of the time. But yeah, so hopefully that hopefully this redeemed my last survey solving video. There's a time where I tried to stream this, but I didn't realize that Senthai's needed a continuity with the trackers. I thought it acted like 3D Equalizer, but it doesn't. 3D Equalizer can use individual cameras that don't need a flow in your trackers. So there was a time I did a stream where I kind of like just screwed it up, and then I trimmed the sequence because I couldn't like get it working and I didn't know why. So hopefully this kind of redeemed that a little bit. And yeah, so cool, that's it, I guess. So let's make sure that these buttons work, my hotkeys. Nice, I switched over to my end screen. Also, I'm so happy with the graphics. I know some of it's the same as a year ago, but I like my little stinger transition. Okay. Thank you so much for the stream. Rain, can you describe? And thank you for the stream. Can I... Oh, hardest shot you have tracked. Can I describe? The hardest shot that I've tracked? Let me think of that one real quick, so I can answer it on this end screen before I go. Yeah, give me one moment. I'm going to think about this. I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually really struggling because there's a lot of hard shots, but I don't know what the hardest was. Like, it's usually different challenges, and some are more tedious than they are hard, and I'm trying to parse through that a little bit. But off the top of my mind, right away, there was a shot for Dune Part 1, where Timothy Chalamet, or whatever the character's name is, Paul, where Paul was... Oh boy, I forget the names for this. I haven't seen that movie in so long, and I haven't seen the sequel just yet. But, oh, Arrakis. He was on Arrakis, and he was in that sandy, dusty village, and he was in his own quarters, where this dart thing tried to assassinate him, and there was a holographic bush that Paul had to walk and intersect with. So they gave me like 5 witness cameras, and they also, yeah, they gave me 5 witness cameras and anamorphic main camera, which at the time we undistorted in 3DE and then gave the undistorted plate to Senthai's, and then I started working with both software so that I can get survey data of Paul, because they needed like super accurate body rotomation of Paul. The reason being is that it needed to be so perfect because on set they had a Vive tracker on him, and the Vive tracker in a game engine moved a card around matching his position on set, and what that card was used for was the holographic bush was in the game engine, and it made a light map on the card, and that light map was then taken and actually physically projected onto Timothy Chalamet on set, so that the light patterns on him would theoretically line up with the CG bush that was going to be added later. Long story short, it didn't. I knew it wasn't going to, because it's a flat surface on Timothy's round body. So in the movie they did some things and it didn't really come out how they imagined it, I guess. But that shot, they needed all of his locks of hair. They needed every jaw movement, eye stuff. They needed all the folds of his clothing, and all of these wrinkles and deformations had to work from each witness camera. In the end, I ended up not using all the witness cameras. We talked to them, reduced it down a little bit, and we got some pretty solid results. But that maybe was the most tedious and difficult thing, just because of all the folds and everything necessary that I had to put onto Paul. Yeah, maybe that's it. Walnut Brain. Oh, you worked on Dune. That's awesome. That sequence is awesome. Yeah, that one got me really pumped. I love that movie. I lost the novelty of having my name in credits years ago, like a long time ago. But Dune, I was pretty excited actually to have a credit. And yeah, so jealous of my friends because one of my friends is the guy who did like a lot of the sand sims. He was a technical director at DNEG. I actually gotta bug him here soon about some stuff. But yeah, I'm jealous of him working on part 2 now, and I didn't get to touch that. But yeah, all right. So I gotta go. Rain, holy, can't comprehend. Yeah, it was quite messy. All right, so I'm gonna go now. And yeah, once again, I appreciate everyone stopping by. Looks like we dwindled half the views, but that's fine because we stopped. All right, thank you and take care.